I've spent the last 18 years of my life mastering the field of property and real estate through a degree in accounting and finance, and now a full-time property investor with a portfolio of over £10 million. And one of the most life-changing skills that I've learned throughout my years is the art of recognizing my bad spending habits and how to break free from them. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 7 of the most common bad money habits that are holding you back from buying your next house and how to break free from them. But first, before we get into the habits, let's first weigh up whether buying a house is the right decision for you. I'm gonna quickly go through a few of the disadvantages and advantages of buying or renting a house. Over time in the UK, you generally see an increase in house prices. So what does that mean for you? Well, it means that an asset that you're paying monthly payments to is going up in value. And hence, you come to sell it in the future, you end up taking that extra money that has gone up in value by. Robert Kiyosaki actually mentions this in his book, that the house that you live in is not an asset. It's actually a liability. And that's because every month it takes money out of your pocket. However, in the future, you can sell this asset or refinance it, which basically means that if you refinance, you have extra money in your pocket to start up your next business or maybe even buy another house that you're going to rent out. Now, obviously you can't do that with a property that you don't own. So that's a huge benefit towards buying a house instead of renting. Another factor to consider when buying a house is the equity that you have in that house. So basically, buying consists of 2 aspects. The equity you have, so how much of your own money that you put into that house as a deposit, and the loan, which us experts call a mortgage, which is approved by the bank. For example, you might put down 5% deposit on the house, meaning you own 5% of that house. The bank then lends you 95% of that money that you need to fully own that house. As you know, when you take a loan, you obviously have to pay it back by a certain date with interest. Now, if you're going to live in this house, you would normally take it out on a repayment mortgage, meaning you pay more monthly as you're paying interest and paying back the loan at the same time. This is different from an interest-based mortgage, but I'll go into depth about that on another video. When you get into a mortgage, you also have the ability to fix your interest rates, so they aren't as volatile because the interest rates affect how much monthly interest you will pay on that mortgage. So fixing the interest rate is basically a cheat code to getting around UK's unstable bank and having more stable monthly mortgage payments. Now, you can't fix your mortgage forever. Usually the max you can do is 5 years. And when you come out of that fixed mortgage, your mortgage will reset to another interest rate at that time with the bank. Anyway, I know this is a lot of information coming your way, so I'm going to get to the point. What does this mean for your security? Let's say that you're currently renting out a house and you have some money saved up. You've looked on all the property websites and you found one, the perfect one, but your savings only allow you to put 5% deposit down. This will be very risky, as a change in the interest rates would indefinitely cause you some issues with your income down the line. Now, if you were listening, you would say, but I can fix the mortgage and avoid that, no? Well, of course, but you're still taking a risk since nobody knows what interest rates will be like in a couple of years. And actually, this exact concept is happening in the UK right now. 2 years ago, the interest rates were about 2%. So of course, like smart individuals, many people fixed mortgages at that rate. Now, the interest rates have almost tripled that of 2 years ago. So people's monthly payments have skyrocketed when they got out of their fixed mortgages. And it's even worse for those with smaller equities since they have larger loans. So the moral of the story? If you don't have enough money saved up to buy a house with 15 to 20% deposit, don't buy a house. Keep renting and saving up. Or the alternative is to look for a cheaper house, because you're only going to make things harder for yourself by taking these risks. Phew, that was a lot. But hopefully now you know whether to buy or rent your next house. If you have any questions, shoot a comment down below. I'll respond to all of them. Now we've got that out of the way, we can get onto habits, and habits that are holding you back from saving up for your next house. So let's look at impulse buying. You know that feeling when you see something shiny and new and all of a sudden you just gotta have it? Well, this isn't just about poor self-control. It's actually rooted on how our brain works. According to the book Psychology of Money, our brains are wired for immediate reward. So every time we want to buy something new, our brain releases some dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. This surge of dopamine helps us feel happy and excited, which is why shopping can be so addictive. It's the same chemical reactions involved in them types of instant gratification behaviors. But here's the kicker. This short-term pleasure often leads to long-term pain in our wallet. Here's an example. You go to the shopping mall, and on the way, you see an advert of your favorite influencer wearing a new pair of shoes. You immediately think to yourself, I need those. So you go to the mall, find them on a small little discount without any second thoughts, you buy them. When we consistently give into our impulses, we can end up spending more than we can afford. This can actually lead to a negative feedback loop where you feel bad and unmotivated about making an impulse purchase, so you just give up. So how do we combat this? Developing discipline is key. One effective strategy is to set a mandatory waiting period before making any purchases. This could be 24 hours, a week, or even a month, depending on the size of the purchase. This waiting period gives your brain time to cool off. Think rationally about whether you really need to buy this item or if it's just an impulse. Retail therapy. We've all been in uncomfortable situations, breakups, family issues, or maybe you even lost a loved one at some point. It's the times that we feel most emotional that drives us to seek comfort. You might treat yourself to some new clothes, or maybe even a nice meal just to make yourself feel better. And here's the thing, you're not alone. 63.9% of women and 39% of men shop to improve their mood. We all know about Robert Kiyosaki in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He warns us against using money as an emotional escape. It's called retail therapy for a reason. Spending money can provide a temporary boost when you feel down. However, this is just a short-term fix. After the initial high fades, the financial burden of our spending can leave us feeling even more stressed and unhappy, creating a vicious cycle of spending to cope with stress and then feeling stressed because of spending. Now, to break this costly habit, Robert Kiyosaki suggests focusing on building assets instead of accumulating liabilities. This means investing in things that will generate income and appreciate in value over time rather than spending money on things that provide only temporary satisfaction. It's also important to understand the difference between wants and needs. Needs are essential for our survival and well-being, while wants are just things we desire, but we can actually live without them. Practicing mindfulness can help us become more aware of our emotional triggers and spending patterns. Finding alternative ways to cope with stress, such as exercising, maybe having a hobby, or even just as simple as talking to a friend, can also reduce the urge to spend money as a way to feel better. Lack of goals. Here's a quote that I live by. Failing to plan is planning to fail. Imagine getting into your car and you start driving. You need to get to some place important, like an event you've been meaning to go to, or maybe even a family wedding. You put the postcode into the sat nav, right? To guide you where you're going. You might take a longer route because there might be an accident, leading you to be more sidetracked or arrive late. It's the exact same things with any goal. Without a clear financial goal, it's easy to get sidetracked by short-term desires. When we don't have a clear vision of what we want to achieve financially, we tend to make impulsive decisions that satisfy our immediate wants rather than contributing to our long-term financial health. Setting smart financial goals can actually help keep us focused and building long-term wealth. SMART goals stand for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Let me show you an example. Instead of saying I want to save money, a SMART goal would be I want to save £10,000 for a down payment for a house within the next 2 years. If you look at these goals and review them all the time, these goals can help you stay on track and make informed decisions that align with your long-term objectives. Financial avoidance is another major issue. This is when people avoid dealing with their financial responsibilities, like not checking their bank statements or ignoring bills. This behavior stems from fear and anxiety. It's similar to the concept of drifting, where people avoid taking control of their lives and just let things happen to them. Avoidance only leads to financial instability and more stress in the long run. The best way to overcome this is to face your financial fears head on. You need to have self-awareness. Look at yourself in the mirror and ask, am I accomplishing my goals? And it's really as simple as setting a reminder at the end of the week to self-reflect on your expenses. It's something that I've been doing for nearly my whole life. And once you start getting into the habit of seeing how much you're spending, your anxiety and fear of checking in on your spending will go down. This could be weekly or monthly sessions where you go through your bank statements, pay your bills, and track your expenses. Keeping up with Joneses. Ever heard that phrase? Social comparison is the major driver of overspending. We often compare ourselves to others, especially when we see lavish lifestyles on social media. Influencers are called influencers for a reason. They influence other people to invest into a materialistic lifestyle, spending money on clothes and items that prove that they're wealthy. But here's the thing, the only thing we see these influencers is their lifestyle, not how successful they are in their own goals. It's important to recognize that appearances can be deceiving. The lavish lifestyles you see on Instagram might be funded by debt, not wealth. Focus on your own financial goals and practice gratitude for what you have. By appreciating your own progress and not comparing yourself to others, you can reduce the urge of overspending and making better financial decisions. Procrastination is another big barrier to financial success. Brian Tracy in $1 Million Habits points out that delaying important financial decisions such as budgeting or paying bills, can often result in missed opportunities and penalties. Procrastination can stem from feeling overwhelmed and not knowing where to start. My personal tip is listen to some positive affirmations. Sometimes that just gets me off the sofa when I'm hearing somebody else who's successful telling me what to do. To combat procrastination, develop habits of immediate action. When a financial task comes up, take care of it right away if possible. Set a deadline for that task and break them up into smaller, manageable steps. For example, if you create a budget, start by listing all the sources of income and then list all your expenses, and then compare the two and see if that's in a positive or negative cash flow. Breaking tasks down, making them less daunting and more achievable. Overconfidence. Have you ever heard of the phrase, counting all your chickens before they hatch? We all know not everything goes to plan in our life. Just when we think everything is going as planned, there comes a roadblock. So always have the attitude of what we do know is we don't know. A very good example of this is Psychology of Money. It warns us against overestimating our financial knowledge or future earnings. This overconfidence can lead to risky investments or excessive spending based on misplaced sense of security. We might think we know more than we do about investing, or assuming our income will always increase, leading to poor financial decisions. Maintain humility. It's crucial. Consulting with a mentor can also provide a reality check and help you make informed decisions. Remember, not everybody knows everything, and seeking advice is a sign of strength, not weakness. Amazing! You're still here. You've made it to the end. So make sure you smash that bell notification, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and leave me a comment for any bits that you haven't understood. So until next time, peace.